There is a number that follows you everywhere. On your wrist, on your phone, on the little ring that glows red at the end of the day if you haven't hit it. 10,000 steps. You probably know it the way you know your own phone number. It's just there. A fact. The target. And if you've ever felt like you failed your day because the number on your screen read 8,000 or 6,000 instead of 10, then what you're about to hear might change the way you think about every walk you take for the rest of your life. Because that number was never a number from science. It was a number from an advertisement. Here is where it came from. In 1965, a Japanese company called Yamasa released a pedometer, a small device that counted your steps. Quite new technology for the time. They needed a name for it, and they chose the name Manpo-kei. In Japanese, man means 10,000, po means steps, k means meter, the 10,000 step meter. It was a marketing name, a catchy one, round, memorable, big enough to feel ambitious. There was a researcher involved, a man named Yoshiro Hatano, who had done work suggesting that walking more could help with calorie burning. His research was real. His numbers were reasonable, though they were estimates for the average Japanese adult of the time, not precise targets derived from a large clinical trial. But the device went on sale. People started wearing it. The number lodged itself into the culture. And decades later, it crossed the Pacific, spread through the fitness industry, got built into the first generation of consumer wearables, and quietly became a global health standard, without ever being tested as one. The 10,000 step target wasn't prescribed by a doctor or derived from a study of what actually protects aging bodies. It was a product name that the world decided to believe. So what does the science actually say? In 2019, a researcher named Ai-Min Lee at Harvard decided to find out properly. She studied more than 16,000 older women, giving each one an accelerometer to wear during their daily lives. Not a pedometer that counted steps, a device that measured real movement throughout the real day. And she tracked which of them were still alive several years later. The results were striking, and not in the direction most people expected. Women who averaged around 4,400 steps a day had significantly lower mortality than women who averaged around 2,700 steps. But here is the part that almost no one talks about. The benefit kept rising as step counts rose, yes, but it leveled off. Somewhere around 7,500 steps, the curve flattened. Going from 7,500 to 10,000 steps added almost nothing more to the benefit. The last 2,500 steps were, for most of these women, not buying them additional protection. They were just making them feel guilty. A few years later, a researcher named Amanda Paluch pulled together data from nearly 50,000 adults across multiple studies. And she found a similar picture. For adults over 60, the benefits seemed to peak somewhere in the range of 6,000 to 8,000 steps, not 10,000. The magic number, when tested against real lives and real death rates, turned out to be considerably lower than the number on the box. Now, before you take this as permission to do less, there is a second part to this story, and it is the part that matters more than the count. Because step count alone is a blunt instrument. It measures how far you went, not what you did when you got there. Think about two people, each recording 5,000 steps today. The first person took those 5,000 steps over a leisurely 3-hour stroll. A gentle meander, a chat, a pause, a look at the view. A pleasant afternoon. The second person took those same 5,000 steps in 45 brisk minutes. A real pace. Arms swinging. Heart rate lifting. Breathing that actually changed. Both of them hit 5,000 steps on the counter. But they did not do the same thing to their bodies. This is where researchers have started to pay close attention to something called cadence. Cadence simply means the speed at which you take your steps. How many per minute? Around 100 steps per minute, your walking crosses a threshold into moderate intensity. Your heart rate rises. Your lungs work harder. Your muscles are genuinely loaded. Below that, walking is pleasant. It is not nothing, but it isn't giving your heart and your blood vessels the kind of challenge that creates meaningful change. The research on this is not complicated. It is almost embarrassingly simple. Walking faster is what makes walking work. Not longer, not further, faster. A shorter walk, done at a real pace, delivers more to your heart and your vessels and your metabolic health than a long, gentle drift covering the same ground. So the question to ask yourself is not, did I hit 10,000 steps today? The question is, did any of my steps today actually make me breathe harder? Because the ones that did are the ones that counted. And here is the part that makes this hopeful, especially as you get older. You don't need to run. You don't need a gym. You don't need anything except a pair of shoes and a stretch of pavement. You only need to find, somewhere in your day, a few minutes where you walk a little faster than feels completely comfortable, not so fast that you can't speak. Research suggests a simple test here, the talk test. If you can still hold a conversation, but it takes just a little more effort than usual, you're probably in the right zone. It might be a single block walked at pace on the way to the shops. It might be the last 5 minutes of your afternoon walk, where you push just a little. That is not a small thing. Done consistently, over weeks and months, that is the thing that protects your heart, steadies your blood pressure, keeps your blood sugar in a healthier range, and holds on to the leg strength that keeps you standing on your own. More of what you already do, done slightly differently. That is the whole prescription. Of course, if you're managing a heart condition, or recovering from an illness, or you've been told to keep things gentle, then gentle is exactly right for you, and your doctor is the one to tell you what pace is appropriate. This isn't an instruction to ignore what your body is telling you. It's permission to stop chasing a number that was never yours to begin with. So think back to the last time the step counter on your phone glowed red. Maybe you were at 8,000, maybe 6, maybe 4. And something in you felt like you hadn't done enough, like the day was a small failure. But now you know something about that number, where it came from, what it was always worth. The researcher who matters isn't the one who put the name on the pedometer. It's the one who followed 16,000 people through their real lives and found that the distance was never really the point. The point was whether you asked your body to work. So tomorrow, don't worry about the count. Just find one stretch, however short, where your step quickens a little, where your breath lifts, where your heart feels it. That's the step that counts. That's always been the step that counted.